I've noticed that Kylie fans tend to be um, really sweet people in
Absolutely.
general. Like, there's always an exception, and
Totally.
I've met
There's
plenty of
always
exceptions to that rule over the years. But generally, very sweet, um, gentle people.
absolutely. I think because, Kylie is that person, she is just so sweet, and
Mm.
has this very warm, soft, kind of gentle aura around her. Um, maybe that's why it kind of attracts people that are also very sweet.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe you and I are starting to uncover something here, talking it through. Kylie's sweet and gentle, and always tries to be kind. In her own words, she said that herself, and yeah, the Kylie fans generally seem to be that way. There's always a lovely vibe when Kylie fans come together. So in 2007, I'm trying to work out what got you into Kylie. It sounds to me like you knew about Kylie, but then became the diehard fan around 2007. What
Yeah,
what was the tipping point for you?
it's kind of it's a funny, not that interesting story, but yeah, I remember in 2001, I was about 11 then, and my mom did have the Fever album, so I was familiar with those big hits, and I knew her name and face, but that was really it. And then around 2007, funny enough, I was in Walmart, just my local Walmart, and well, I was in the DVD section and I happened to notice just one single copy of the Money Can't Buy Body Language show,
Oh, lovely.
2003. And I was just like, oh my God, who is that beautiful blonde, person singing? And I said to myself, if this is still here, this one copy, like the next time I'm here, I'm going to just buy it. And that's exactly what happened. And I did. And then I
So
watched
sorry,
it.
Jessica, you saw it and then you left it in the hands of fate. You said, if I come back and it's still here, I'll get it.
Yeah.
And so you left it the first time and you came back and it was still sitting there.
Yeah. I don't know why I did that. Maybe I
That's
had this
amazing.
feeling like this could be something special. I don't know. And yeah, I got it and I took it home. And, obviously she blew my mind. And from there on, I, dove headfirst into her discography and, studying the years of her career. And I'm like very obsessive if I, connect with something, and I'm very passionate. And yeah, so it's never stopped since that day.
I love that. I've said to a few people who came on board later that I wish I could have that experience, or I'd be curious to know if I had come later, if I would have had that magnetic pull that I had all those years ago. I believe I would have, a bit like yours. You saw a cover in a store and went, there's something drawing me to that. Isn't it's fascinating, isn't it? Because you can't really put words over what that magnetism was.
Absolutely. It's so fascinating.
It
It's
is.
kind of just an instinct, maybe.
What influence has Kylie had on your life?
Wow. That's such a good question. I mean, I think she's given me something to, really hold on to through so many different, ups and downs, and following Kylie's career and her own ups and downs and everything she has been through, and to see the way she always carries on with such, grace and like class, and everything she does is, very inspirational. And I think just to be a Kylie fan is a very meaningful journey. And um, yeah, she just, she means so much to me. She's my number one, for music. There's nobody above Kylie. She's like the pinnacle of everything. Um,
I was just thinking too, Jessica, as a female fan, when you go to a concert like Madison Square Garden, you're literally the wild rose, aren't you, in amongst the thorns?
Yeah, a bit. I definitely am, but it was really nice to see a good amount of women there. I had a single woman next to me that just came by herself and danced the whole night. And, that felt so exciting just to, be next to her and having this experience together. And I brought my husband with me, who now through me is a very big Kylie fan. So it was absolute dream come true.
Was that your husband's first time seeing Kylie live?
Yeah, his absolute first time, and he was blown away by her.
Beautiful. So let's start there. We're going to talk about Madison Square Garden. Let's just remind ourselves what it was like for Kylie and her fans in that iconic arena.
To have every man, but to love you want, to wake with the moon and sleep with the sun, to be a sinner saint, a lover and friends, and know I begin, but never end, to fly the oceans and swim in the sky, believer in truth, defender to lies, to know the deepest love, the purest pain, to be lost and found again and again and again. Of an impossible princess. That's a deep cut. That's a deep cut.
Jessica, that crowd is insane from a distance. I obviously wasn't there. Was it as energetic as it sounds?
Oh my God, yes. And in the beginning, when she kind of finished up the first act, she got this crazy standing ovation, and you could just feel the love in the room, and you could feel the love from her. And that was the first time I got very emotional and was tearing up. And yeah, it was an incredible energy for sure.
It's hard to describe standing in an arena where there's a standing ovation, isn't there? Because that's just such a visceral outpouring of love and respect.
Yeah, that's such a good choice of words. You could really feel that respect for Kylie, and it really felt like everybody knew what a big deal this was and what a milestone, and what so many fans have been waiting for, kind of painstakingly, because she's always put in very tiny venues here, which is great for other reasons, but we tend to miss out on the full scale show experience.
Can you help us understand the people that are not in the United States? What does it mean for an artist to play Madison Square Gardens?
I mean, it's just sort of ingrained in American culture. I feel like, even if you don't live in New York, everybody's heard of Madison Square Garden, and most people recognize those three words. And especially in New York, it's the kind of the pinnacle of when you're there, you've made it. And we kind of all know Kylie's made it well over all around the world 100 times, but it was always this America thing where she couldn't break it, and there wasn't enough, of a demand. And so it was a very big deal.
So if it symbolizes I've made it, that pretty much says it all, doesn't it? She's standing on that stage at her age and at this stage of her career. It's the symbol that I'm not just having a moment in the United States, I've arrived in the United States.
100%. And you could really feel that she felt that way. It was probably part of why it felt so emotional.
Hey, Time to Talk family. This is Tim Power, host of the podcast where amateurs talk about icons. To keep our show commercial free, we rely on your support. Many of you have chucked in just a couple of bucks, or sometimes more, which lets Time to Talk Australia pay its way. There's no obligation, of course. Keep listening to us no matter what. Liking and sharing our content is also a huge help. But if you do hear something that you like and you think you can support the show by throwing in a couple of bucks, head to patreon.com/Time to Talk Australia. The link is in the description of this podcast.
Hi Tim and Time to Talk listeners, this is Danny from Melbourne, and I'd just like to say your latest podcast made me very angry.
And as always, we want your voice memos. If you've heard something that you agree with, or possibly you're outraged, and let's be fair, many of you listen simply to be outraged, then take out your phone and record a voice memo. Cap it at around the 2-minute mark, and then send it to me. I listen to all the voice memos that come through, and occasionally we include them in the show. Our email is timetotalkaustralia@outlook.com. Thanks for sharing, rating, contributing, and donating to this very little podcast from Down Under. I genuinely love our little Time to Talk family, because lovers of pop are an endangered species. So, why don't we go extinct together?
So that's all I have to say. Get off the airwaves, you're such an amateur.
You said that when you get your teeth into something, you do it well. And it sounds to me like maybe become a little bit obsessed. And in 2007, when you jumped on the Kylie train, you went through the back catalogue, you did your research, you were aligning the timeline and the years, which I love. So you might have a good perspective on this. Why do you think it's taken the United States, and to a lesser extent Canada, so long to understand everything Kylie has to offer?
You know, I feel like it might be a case of maybe our radio here, or what gets kind of put out in the mainstream in America. Because even when Kylie has had a hit here, it's more, on the dance stations or, other kind of segments, but never the main, top 40 hit station. And her music hasn't really gotten a chance to travel through America, kind of with a spotlight on it. You have to kind of go searching for her a little bit more to find her.
Yeah.
But I think with Padam Padam, that was a really big moment, and I kind of feel like it was that song that really reignited everyone's passion for Kylie in America.
Yeah. It's ironic because if the radio, which comes up a lot, that radio stations have had a lot of power, not just in the United States, in every territory. I remember in the very beginning, Jessica, I don't know if you're aware of this through your research, but in Australia and the UK, radio ignored Kylie's Locomotion, I Should Be So Lucky, Got to Be Certain, even though it was at the top of the charts. And they did so because of a lack of credibility to the music. Bubblegum pop, it's not serious enough, and it's too manufactured. And to me, it feels like, just putting it out there as a bit of guesswork, I suppose, that with social media, doesn't matter where you are on the planet now, except if you're in China and they black it out, but you pretty much can make a discernible choice yourself. You're not beholden to a radio station making decisions for you. So with Padam Padam, it might not have got the radio play in the United States back in the day, but social media, you guys had total access to it and could tell what a hit it was. So it was really the people that made Padam a hit.
Yeah, that's so true. And I think that, that's probably the best way it could have happened. Just the fans, and I think it took a surge of new fans to really get that amount of people where it'd be worth it for them to say, okay, we're going to bring this tour to
Yeah.
America. I think the fan base really blew up recently.
Tell me this too, and I'm asking every person from the United States this question. We were curious, us Australians and Brits, how did the United States audience receive the Tension tour?
I think that she has such an advantage here because everybody, for the most part, can't believe she's here. So the reception is just overwhelming of happiness and excitement, and it kind of all felt like, we just can't believe this is happening.
Yeah.
So, she could have come and sat on a stool with nothing and sang a cappella, and I think that it would have been received just as well.
Wow. What I'm hearing from you is it's the goodwill. It's the goodwill in the room. It's not so much for show. It's the respect for what she's done and what she's achieved, and the fact that she's never forgotten about you American fans as well. She never has. She's always made gestures to you, even when it probably wasn't financially sensible to bring versions of her tours over there. She has always made sure that she's catered for those hardcore fans. And look, just generally speaking, Kylie has such respect for her fans, and that's an easy thing to throw around, but it's in her behavior, not just her words. So bringing shows to the United States when the audience wasn't huge, giving us bonus singles from albums that the mainstream public barely know about, making videos for some of them. She has a lot of respect for what the fans love. And she throws us a lot of gifts, always has, right from the beginning. Now, Jessica, I haven't asked you much about the show yet, which is what most people are tuning in for. They want to know what the Madison Square Gardens show was like. You've told us that it was wild, that she got standing ovation, at least one. Maybe she got more, you can tell us. Can you tell us a bit about the show at Madison Square Gardens? And I'll start with this. I noticed, I swear, listeners, correct me if I'm wrong, that there were tweaks to this show, special Easter eggs. Like for even the beginning, I swear that beginning just had a slightly different, slightly different from the rest of the shows. The costumes look different to me, for example. Tell us all about it, Jessica. What was it like being there?
Yeah, so I mean, once the lights went down, and everybody kind of knew like it's she's about to be right here.
2 seconds away.
Yeah, exactly. It was just an overwhelming energy, and I know I've said this already, but you could kind of tell how overwhelmed Kylie herself was. I think everybody could feel that. I know there was a lot of speculation about the show, and there's been some unhappy fans. Um, I think that might be coming from the fact that this kind is sort of the first tour where she does appear very quickly. We kind of lost that like epic buildup that's sort of been at the opening of every tour, where it's kind of a few minutes until she herself is there.
Yeah.
I think with the Tension tour, it's really only a minute or so, once the lights start, and then she's right there. So I think that might speak to people feeling a lack of what's usually in Kylie shows, but I think it was her most straightforward show. She's not relying on a theme this time, or, it's not a prop heavy show. I think in that, the focus was purely the music. And I've noticed a lot of fans saying this, which I totally agree with, that Kylie has never looked so free on stage and this confident, and you can see how much fun she's having. And how much she enjoys her own music. And I think that maybe the lack of props and headpieces and over the top costumes have kind of allowed her to have a more free flowing, like purely fun show where the focus is, the songs themselves.
Nothing getting in the way. And she's low level complained about that over the years. And I use low level quite deliberately because she said, with the anti tour comes to mind. I just wanted to be there and connect as human beings to human being, and she talks about with Aphrodite. Even though she's very proud of that show, she talked about the mechanics of it. Like in her ear, it's literally a computerized scheduled show. She can hear tick, tick, tick next. And here she absolutely has a lot more freedom, doesn't she?
Absolutely. And I could totally understand if at this point of her career she was seeking that freedom, just because she's done everything. So I kind of feel like, this more freedom on stage is very deserved.
What was it like, Jessica, when she came to the center stage of Madison Square Garden? I'm imagining that was pretty epic too, because she's so close to her fans at that stage, and it's much more casual, that section of the show too. It's where she truly gets to engage in an intimate moment with the whole arena, and especially the people surrounding that little stage. Can you tell us about that moment?
Oh my gosh, yes. I mean, when she starts her walk through the crowd, everyone's just freaking out, and it was so exciting, and she was so close, and I, was wishing I was one of the fans that were right, on the edge of the B stage.
I wanted to dive on top of her head.
Yes.
Because I was up a little level. It wouldn't have hurt her too much because I wasn't that far up, but like I just saw the top of her gold head pass me by, and I wanted to leap like Spider-Man. Lucky I didn't though. Hey, might not have seen the rest of the show if I'd done that. And then when she made it, she walked through the audience, she got to that little stage. Jessica, what was it like? And of course I need to ask, what extra tracks did she give us?
Oh, yes. So I'd have to say we got incredibly lucky, because a fan happened to bring a sign that said "Dreams," from Impossible Princess, and it worked. And she noticed him, and she zeroed in on it, and that's when she started singing the first verse directly to him. And I mean, at that point, I just thought I was going to have a heart attack. I couldn't believe
Amazing.
what she chose. And it was literally a dream come true. And after that, she then went into the first verse and chorus of The One, which was also very exciting. My personal pick, if I was down there, I probably would have shouted Some Kind of Bliss.
Ooh, Jessica. That's one I don't hear that too often.
Yeah, and we finally got, I know with the Australian shows she was doing Did It Again, and
yeah,
that was another big one on my list. But right after that, I think would be Some Kind of Bliss. Maybe someone else will shout it out.
No offense to all the Some Kind of Bliss fans out there, but I'm telling you, I don't think I've ever seen anyone shout that out in an audience ever. It's not the most popular Kylie song, Jessica. No offense to you, because you clearly love it.
Yeah, I love her vocals on it. I love her vocals during that whole time period, and kind of how she was experimenting with the tone of her voice. And
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. Other highlights of the show for you?
Let's see, other highlights. Probably, when she would stop and talk to the crowd, and when she said, she acknowledged, I'm sure most of you here know that this is my first time at Madison Square Garden. And as soon as she kind of said those 3 words, everyone just lost it and, were screaming their heads off. Oh, and
Amazing.
her outfit when she does Slow and Time Bomb, she revealed a new color. It went from purple to bright pink, so that was also very exciting just to get to see something new.
Yeah, I know. I was wondering if that was just for coloring on YouTube, but yeah, I suspected it was a different shade. Yeah, because it's been purple all the way up until now, right?
Yes, I was so excited about it.
That's beautiful. And she also had the blue PVC. I don't think it's the first time. She might have had that in Canada as well, but she didn't have that in the Australian leg of a tour, and I don't think she had it in the Asian leg of a tour either.
Yes, and it's so funny because I saw that blue outfit and I said to myself, "Oh my god, I hope she wears it for my show." And then she popped up and was in the blue outfit and I
It's
was
pretty spectacular, I've got to say. Like, that's a true stage costume, that one. It's certainly attention grabbing, right?
absolutely. It's definitely more of a costume and yeah, it just looks incredible.
I'm curious to know your husband. During the show, was there any particular moment where he was like, oh, this is it? Like, is he more into that club vibe in the middle of the show, or did he love the beginning where it was the super pop hits, or did he like the tension filled finale of the show?
Yeah, his favorite part was Slow. He thinks that's his favorite Kylie song, and he just thinks it's, the most sexy, hot song, which it totally is. And it's
Mm.
always, her hottest performance of the night. And yeah, that segment was definitely his favorite for sure.
Beautiful choice, actually. All right. So now, just finally, when you left the arena, when you left Madison Square Gardens with your husband, what were you experiencing? What was going on in your mind, in your body? How were you processing what you'd just seen?
Yeah, well, it was funny you say that because as of this afternoon, I was kind of, telling my friends I feel like I'm still processing the entire experience.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I was walking out, I just felt like I was, on cloud nine and
Mm.
in like another world, and your head's ringing from the show, and everyone's so excited, and people were playing, Kylie songs outside of the venue, and yeah, so we left to a very bustling, exciting scene, I guess.
That is fantastic. That's the atmosphere outside the arenas after the show is pretty damn special, I've got to say. And everyone I've spoken to shares that same experience, that people on a real high as they're leaving the arenas as the tension to it makes its way around the globe. And that says it all. If people are leaving feeling joyful and euphoric, you can't ask for more than that.
100%.
Yeah. Jessica, thank you for getting in touch with me. I know you said that you've been listening to the podcast for a little while. Is that right?
Absolutely. I love it. Such a good podcast. It's great to hear from different fans from all over the world and, their personal Kylie experience, or, what kind of their favorite Kylie is.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of spaces for that. So, yeah, I really appreciate and love the podcast.
Oh, that's lovely for you to say. And thank you for being part of it. I really appreciate it. I've been dying to know how the Madison Square Garden show was, because we do all know it was going to be probably the pinnacle of the tour, one of the most remarkable moments at the very least of the tour. And finishing it off in the UK is a great. Oh, I don't know if she does finish it off in the UK, actually. I shouldn't say that. But when she gets to the UK, they will embrace her all over again. So there's still a lot of highs to come. But Jessica, thank you so much, and I hope we can talk again sometime.
Absolutely. Thank you so, so much for having me on.